Guys, I printed out the undesignated fund, the one I sent
You
you.
want me to hit that? Is there like a time frame that the board of assessment appeals can hear people, the
Yeah.
challengers?
February.
Oh, next year.
They can also go to Superior Court and challenge it after that, but did someone not get it? What are we missing?
Dan's on his way, he's a parent teacher.
I had 8. You have one was for Sarah.
Well, Sarah's not coming.
Sarah is not coming, Dan
No.
is on his way.
So we got an extra because Carl.
Carl printed his own.
Yes, I printed my own.
Good for you, Carl.
Printed, I printed it. It took me 2 tries. to print it. That's all right. I have to download it, then upload it, and then print it. I don't have whatever you guys send me.
His chair. No, I don't know, it's like they don't have. No, and then look.
Okay, let's bring this Board of Finance regular meeting to order for April 1st, 2026. I'm Mike Anderson, the chair. We have Winona Burdine, Gary Anino, Carl Johnson is here as an alternate. He'll be seated for Sarah Nelson, who's not going to be here tonight. And Ed McGowan, also an alternate. I'm going to seat you for Lou pending his arrival. And I believe Dan is on his way. Okay. We'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any public comment? None in the room, online? Please raise your hand if you'd like to make public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to correspondence. I didn't receive any new correspondence, so I think we can, unless anyone else did. We do have draft 5 officially from First Selectman Carlson. Unapproved. And we have Dan Smith coming in. Bob, why don't we continue with our building inspector discussion? That's agenda item number 5. Just we had discussions last time. There was some discussion about wanting to have it in the budget, mainly for transparency purposes. And I think the primary reason, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, was to make sure we capture any, the delta that was going to be above and beyond what it was going to cost, somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000.
So I did give it some more thought. Let me just think about this. So we think about the timing. This budget we're talking about right now starts July 1st, 2026. if we did an appropriation, which I spoke about the last time, that would happen in May 4th of 2026. So it's actually happening in this year. So we go in this year's budget as an added appropriation like we do for, if you look at the budget right in front of you, look at the capital, you see all the capital we paid off really has additional appropriations in there. I think you'll see an appropriation for the tribal monies. There's an appropriation in there for, I think there's more than a few appropriations in there that happened that we capture. So it would actually be an appropriation in this year's budget if you appropriate 300,000. And then as we do next year, when we do the actuals for this year, it goes into this year's actuals. So then that would have nothing to do with next year's budget, the budget we're all working on, number one. So if we did it as we did a steep grant, now we know I'm doing steep grants a little different now. When we did the one in 2023, shame on me, I asked you for all the money and then we took us forever to do the projects. So why are we going to do that? So this year I decided when we get ready to do a project, I'll come for a steep grant for that portion of the project and not the whole thing, because it would be like $750,000. So I know Alan's going to be looking one for this summer for the concrete up at the landfill. And that's like 132,000. I'll come to you before we do that project. Why come for you for the one for to redo this room if I'm not going to do it to 2027? So I was thinking about steep grants. When you do approve it, I have 4 years to do it. So when you approve something, it sits in a bucket in the P&L, and I take the money as we need it. I'm thinking if you did the appropriation and we went to a town meeting and they got approved at a town meeting as an appropriation for $300,000, and I had a chance to explain that, yeah, but we're getting 500,000 in for this. So when the first 300,000 comes in, we can deobligate that 300,000 that you gave me for the undesignated fund and put it right back in the undesignated fund. And anything over 300,000, we can put in this year's budget as additional revenue. So I could capture 200,000 of additional revenue if that's what I'm thinking it might be. Right now we have 500,000 in the revenue, 300,000 expenses. What's on your sheet? Would you see the 8.31% budget increase? You actually did me a favor. I was mentioned before the meeting. By me not having to go to the day and put a 1.98% increase in the day for the whole town, I didn't get calls from Preston, Groton, Waterford saying, what the hell are you guys doing in North Sullivan? We're trying to get 6, 7, 8%. So you're doing a 1.98. So it's nice that I didn't have to put that in the day. But it would have been nice to put it in the day, because then I would have got those calls. I would have said, oh, so we must be smarter than you guys in the other towns. So back to this. I think if we appropriate it in this year, May of this year, so it does have nothing to do with next year's budget. When I get that first 300,000, in which the first 300,000 is actually going to be coming to us probably between May and June, we can put that, we can deobligate this money right back into the undesignated fund, the one you're earmarking, and anything over that, I can carry it in revenue for this year. I know Sarah was worried about, well, I don't want to lose that 200,000, she said. We can put that as revenue.
Just when you're saying we're gonna vote for it for this year, you're talking 25, 26. And when you say we're gonna have it on for revenue, we want 26, 27, correct?
Not the 300, the first 300,000.
No, I'm saying the 200,000
Yeah,
in revenue.
because that could come in after July 1st, and it probably will. So count it as revenue for next year. I could put 200,000 in the revenue side and $1 in the expense side.
Okay, so that's what I think we need explanation on. We're gonna put it as a line item for the revenue side.
Of 200,000 and $1 in the expense side, because
Okay.
the money's coming out of the appropriated money, not out of the budget. And Melissa can track the whole thing through the P&L, which is told, the auditor has told her she could do that if that's how we wanted to do it.
Okay.
And the way I really don't care which way you do it, except I'm thinking that 8.31% increase just doesn't sit well with the person in the voting booth. That's all. And it's a shame because it's really not what it is. It is and it isn't. But anyway, I'll defer to you to come up with an answer for me.
I'll take comments from the board. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just getting warmed up.
Go ahead.
No.
No, go ahead. So I did some Google researching and everything. It's just, I view the fees exactly what it is. I would consider it revenue non-reoccurring, right? So it's a one-time thing. We're not going to count as this is going to be a part of our tax base. It's just a fee. You collect $500,000 in the fees. It's a one-time infusion of money. But we have to provide a service rendered for those fees. Like Bob was saying before, where we have to provide a service, which is, the building inspector. They got to provide it for, was it, you said over what, 16 months? 18 months, but it's a scaled, it's not as much in the beginning and it's more towards the middle and the end.
Most of the fees are gonna be paid towards the end.
Just grab it.
This way it could be on camera, John. So no, most of the fees are gonna, obviously, the inspections have to happen after the work.
Yep.
So there'll be inspections going on the whole time, but the big inspections that be before the big CO and all that happens, it's all gonna be happening after July 1st into next year. So the work has to be done for us before we can do the inspections. So I think that if we earmark that money, as put it aside, like we do a steep grant, and then we can take it out as needed. And then you left it. Now, let's say they do 282,000 in expenses. That extra 18 goes back in the undesignated fund, just like it would in the steep grant. And anything over the 300,000 could go into next year's revenue in the budget.
And I would assume since this is T and M, that the position is a T and M quote unquote job. I would anticipate if there's change orders, there's just change in scope. There is going to be additional fees that come in. They're not going to probably end up de-scoping this project. They're probably either increasing it, or there's going to be different HVAC, plumbing, however it's going to be. There'll be additional funds that come in to offset the actual. You're shaking your head a little bit side to
Keep
side.
going. I'll add it when you're done.
But it's a T and M. It's not like we're setting a fixed price job where it's going to balloon out and we're not going to be able to recover that money. Or if it's de-scoped, it is what it is.
Agreed. I agree with you.
The T and M component is for the staff augmentation, not for the permit fees. The permit fees are set when the building official says this permit will cost you X. When the change orders fly and the additional building official has to review change orders and request for information and all that, submittals, all that stuff, that's over and above, or that's outside of the permit fees. We don't get additional permit fees for RFIs or submittal.
We should be getting, if there's a change of scope large enough outside the original scope of that permit.
Who's going to track that?
If I told you I was building a house and the roof was going to be this size and I doubled it, guess what? The building inspector is going to say, wait a minute, your roof is supposed to be this big. You need to have an amendment to your permit. That's how that works.
But amendment to the permit and amendment to the fee are two different things. So just somebody's going to have to track that. Somebody's going to have to get the additional
It's
revenue.
all based on
I
dollar
don't
amount.
disagree. That's how it should work. It rarely does in the
But
commercial.
who enforces
construction.
that?
So that's why we have this special inspector who's going to come back and tell land use office that he's finding these change orders. So it's being done through the building inspector's office and the general contractor.
So does land use office have all supreme of the fees for the building inspector,
what-
or they work autonomous to themselves?
So this is how it happens. So Cheryl has formulas on how to do it. She gave them an approximate price of the 298,000 for the building.
Yep.
So I think those plans just came in. She sent them over to Wayne Bomeyer to look at. So he's going to go through all the plans. He'll tell Cheryl if he agrees with that fee or not, whether it should be higher or not. If it's through and it's fine, but if he looks through the plans, as Cheryl, that you didn't do the formula, this is much more of a building here than you anticipated. The fees have to go up as far as the, not the fees, but the building permit fees.
Mhm.
So he's going to he did the same thing with the foundation. Now he's doing it with the main building, or he will be doing it with the main building. So once we go through the building and it should be built the way that it's supposed to be built, they're paying the correct fees. Only if they do something crazy, like they say, we decide we're going to put a 50 by 100 addition to the back of the building, which is not on the plans. Well, that's going to be a new fee.
Usually those building inspector, those building fees usually is like, all right, for the first 10,000, it's this much. And then every $1,000 over that of value of that service that you're providing, like plumbing, it's an extra 1,000. Every 1,000, it's an additional, $200 or whatever that is going to be based on what the original quote. And you have to provide that proof right there. So every single change order that has a dollar amount associated with it over the original amount should have additional taxes or additional fees coming in for that. And I would prefer to use the word fee other than revenue, because this is a one-time. and Gary's shaking his head, so I must be on the right spot. It's not revenue. It's a fee. And
It's
that's
a
how we
fee.
have to think of it as a board. It's a
It's a fee that
one-time
if we
fee.
don't, but if we don't expend all the revenue from the fees, that extra revenue, the town gets to keep.
Then it turns into revenue that we absorb into it, but it's, until the construction is over, it is considered a fee.
Mhm.
It's for services rendered for a building project.
Right.
Just one point of clarity I want to add.
Yep.
It's based on the cost of work. So the
Yes.
contracts to construct, not based on a estimator's book. It's based on the actual contracts to construction, X many yards of concrete, X many tons of rebar,
100%.
et cetera. So they should be able to provide that value. We should not be guessing at what the cost
No,
of those permits are.
And that's why, well, she gives an approximate for the permit because she uses the formulas, but it's up to the building inspector to say, now that we see the plans, the finished plans, this is what the fee should be.
No, the building officials should say, show me the contracts you let.
Yeah,
Because the fees are based on the cost of work.
yeah, because he should be shown the proof of receipt. So if I
Correct.
go out there and I bought a bunch of steel and I bought a bunch of this and I bought a bunch of that and everything, they should say, this is how much this is going to cost.
So
This is my
I don't,
proof.
so I don't disagree with any of this.
Yep.
And I guess the point is once we get all the expenditures and all the fees or whatever you want to call it, once the dust settles, the building's in, we got a CO. I just want to know how you want to handle it from the Board of Finance's point of view. How do we want to capture it? That's all.
So a couple questions based on that.
Should we want to take that back into that?
I like staying here.
I'm just trying to frame a question that will be on the town meeting.
Okay.
So is it a question of we're going to appropriate $300,000 for the necessary to pay for the building inspector for this entire project from now till it finishes? Something to
I
that
would say
effect?
something effective, should the town approve an appropriation of $300,000 to cover the cost of building inspector fees for the building of the EB plant with an anticipated revenue of 500,000 or whatever the numbers are going to be.
Anticipated cost of $300,000,
That's the appropriation part. The appropriation is 300,000 because that's the cost
right?
with an anticipated revenue of 500,000.
That's in the question?
Yeah.
So
I would put it in the question because that's what it would be anticipated.
the only thing I'm worried about with appropriating it and then put it as a line item, as an appropriated amount, you go over, you can't put money back in.
Right.
You got a one-time shot for this. And he's smiling about this because I'm thinking that's what well, it has been brought up where you can't appropriate to a
No, I
line item
understand.
twice. So you have to,
You had some cushion in there, didn't you? You had some cushion in there?
It was 282,000, so the 300,000 was rounding it. But don't forget, if all the fees aren't going out until next year, we have another budget coming up a year from now. We could probably catch us some in that budget if it, because if the final building CO is November 27, we start another budget July of 27, July 1st.
understand. I just want to make sure that we're,
That's why this has its own line item, right?
yeah, and that's why I'm worried if we put it in there and then all of a sudden we exceed it really, really quick. We just have to make sure that we're
Good
thinking of
points, good points.
everything on this.
I understand.
Am I completely like, all right, with the appropriation? It's not great, but
We can keep it the way it is, Dan. 500,000 and the revenue, 300,000 in expense line. We can do that.
the only problem is it does based on a fee, and like I said, it's a fee. It artificially inflates things for a one-time thing based on a fee, not for revenue.
And actually, if you come up with a solution, and you want to help me write the question, I'll be glad to take that advice also. I want to make sure we're on the same page and we're being totally transparent with.
Yeah, I mean, I think tonight we will vote to send it back to you to call a town meeting on this question.
Well, it would be the budget town meeting, it would just be an.
I understand, but we would move to send it back to you for you to send this as part of the town meeting.
Right, so I would do I would come back to it at a meeting between now and the town meeting with an
Correct.
actually appropriation form.
Right.
You would vote on again that evening to appropriate, not to appropriate the 300,000. And then then because it's over 20, I gotta go to a town meeting.
Right, right, exactly,
Hmm,
exactly.
okay.
Right, yeah, we don't have to vote on it tonight. We just send it back to you to ask for an appropriation.
I think though, if we're willing to do it in May, it's in this particular fiscal year we're in now, and it's really not in next year's budget, which is what we're talking about. How does it affect next year's budget? And if we can affect next year's budget with the additional revenue, but not the expense, and do it the way we do with steep grant. So how do we explain a steep grant, which most of those are over 20,000? I go to a town meeting and kind of explain the same way. We're going to get, yeah, we're spending 400,000, we're going to 80% of it back. And that's how I explain it through the question. So this case, we're not getting 80% back, we're getting 160% back.
Can I ask a quick question? If we appropriate $300,000, you're taking in $500,000, it goes to 350. There's still extra money in there to cover it. Does that cover?
You just can't
Expense.
appropriate it in the same year.
No, it's not appropriated. It's appropriated to pay this gentleman. But if there's extra money coming in for fees, why can't he get paid out of that after you paid it all back? Does that goof up things?
I'm not sure.
I'm not listening.
It's a cash flow thing.
Right.
I think it's a cash flow thing. The man needs to get paid
As he's going.
as he goes.
Right.
So to have those bills get invoiced and paid, he can't wait till the end of the project.
I think the good
Yeah,
news
but
is,
if I'm understanding Bob right, the fees are coming in beforehand, so they'll have money to pay him when he puts it in. So
Yeah, but-
all they're doing is technically, think about it, is borrowing 300,000 here to cover his first set of inspections, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
The second set of inspections will be in next year's project. We should be able to take the revenue that was left over from the fees and put it in the next one.
if they're above the original
If they're above the
282,000.
original 280.
So one thing to think about is we're talking about $300,000 in fees and $500,000 in potential money from the fees, right? So if we were saying $300,000 in fees and $350,000 in revenue, I'd be a lot more nervous with only a $50,000 plus or minus, but we've got a $200,000 plus or minus.
That's what I was trying to speak up to.
Okay, so the timeline for all of this, because the budget we're talking about is 26, 27, like, is there a potential for $0 to come in after July of 2027?
No, the money after July 2027, if it would be small dollars because it'd be just finishing up on some last minute subs coming in to finish something up on something that was,
Okay, so the majority of the dollars to the town, whether they're fees or revenue or whatever, will be dried up by July of 2027. So
for the most
Correct.
part. I
Okay.
think the majority are going to come in between May of this year, which we can defer to next year, and probably November, which is when the building's weather tight also this year.
November of
26, yes. So figure between May of 26 and November 26 was where the lion's share of fees will come in.
And that's why I'm saying it's revenue non-reoccurring. It's a fee non-reoccurring. It happens once. We're burning it. We're hiring a building inspector to do this project. It's not really, I don't even consider revenue until the CO is cut and saying, hey, this is the final total of it. That's how I'm personally viewing it. It's a fee to support the building inspector to do their job for a project that we have going on. It's not I don't consider revenue, it's a fee. Not till the project's closed. It is not considered that. This is a service rendered, just because the fee, the collection of it is higher than the actual service rendered. I don't consider that until it all shakes out and the CO is done. I don't consider that revenue until the project's closed out. Because you're building, you don't get a CO until all your permits are finally approved. It does not go on the tax rolls until all the CO is approved and all the permits are closed out. It does not go on the tax rolls until then. I consider that a fee, and once that gets closed out, then it goes to revenue. That's,
And I, just on that point, I mean, we have on all the As here are revenue sources, right? And one of those revenue sources from A4, all of the A4s are licenses, fees, fines, and charges. So you're right, it's a fee. And it's gonna go in that area for revenue. And on the expense side, so, because you can't have according to what I know, you can't have a revenue without an expense. You put the expense in for a dollar because the money's coming out of the undesignated fund.
We could have an expense. I could do the 200,000 on the revenue side, which is the anticipated additional revenue, and $1 on the expense side.
Right.
No money's coming out of the expense side because it's all coming out of the appropriation.
Correct. Right. So what
And
I'm
the line
saying,
is in here, it's A,
I mean, it's gonna be in
4.21.
it's a fee because it's gonna be in that A4 area. The additional revenue. So how much revenue are you planning to have in this fiscal year that we're in right now? How much have you already taken in?
70,000.
Okay, so
Well, I can't
are we talking about 130 or we're talking about $200,000 on top of that 70?
Another $300,000 on top of that 70.
Okay, so you're gonna budget conservatively at 200?
No, no. I was gonna take, we expect $500,000 in additional revenue.
Right?
So I would do is I would take, if you appropriate 300,000, the first 300,000 that came in would offset that appropriation.
I know, that leaves
And
200.
that leaves 200, which I would put in the revenue line.
I understand that, but if you've already taken in 70 of that revenue, does that leave
That's
100?
that's in this year. I can't defer that because we already spent money out of it. We spent
Okay.
$2,800.
I'm just saying, like, so you're expecting an additional $500,000 in fees on top of what you got already.
And at least probably 300 of those in between now and July 1st, which Melissa said she can defer.
I
to
just
next year.
want, just very simply,
Yes,
okay.
I expect a minimum of 300,000 between now and July 1st because that didn't include any additional sub work. It's going to be done. Both the foundation is going to have sub work done, plumbing and electrical under the foundation before they pour the slab. And there'll be other.
I'm just saying, if you counted the revenue that you've gotten already for this fiscal year, it's already in. You're not deferring it.
Right.
How much of revenue on top of the 300 are you planning to get? 130 or another 200?
I'm planning to get another 300,000, around 299,000, 298,000. With the calculations that Cheryl did and what the fees would be for the building. This is just for the building. So yes, so you got 70,000 for the foundation, 300 for the building, and we're figuring another 100 and plus, 170 or whatever for all the subs that will be pulling permits. I don't understand what you're
I
saying.
want to be able to know what revenue for fiscal year 26, 27 minus the 70 we already gotten, are you expecting to come in fiscal year 26, 27?
Probably about 400, total 430.
Thank you.
That's
So we have 130,000 we can budget for next year.
You could. Yeah.
So did we?
You understand what I'm saying? It's not 200, it's 130.
It may be more than that, but yes, conservatively speaking, yes,
Okay, that's what we need to know. That's going to be in that revenue line
it could be.
because that's $70,000 less than what we've been
Yes.
talking about.
If the whole thing's 500 minus 70, at least 430.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I think we're finally there. Sorry,
Okay,
Mike.
thank you.
Did we book any of that revenue already this year in any line item?
No, it's come in and put in the P and L. That's where she's put it in because
It wasn't ever budgeted for,
So it's
Winona?
just like sitting,
It's just money it's extra money that we never planned for.
okay, so it's just sitting someplace. It's not,
Correct. That will go into, if there's extra money in the fees line for actuals,
it would go in there
it would go in there
for
and then
25, 26.
for 25, 26, and then at the end of the year, it's going to go to the undesignated fund
Okay.
like everything else, if there's extra money that doesn't have to get somewhere else within that line.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that when we're looking at like the actual P and L through February, it's not in there already in that.
right, because we're only through the end of February, so we'll see it showing up and probably when she gets to the end of March, she'll probably see it in there because we took the 70,000 into March. So so far you got a P and L through the end of February, right? Or is it January? January. So when you get to when she gets to one, because it's usually 45 days in the rear. So she's be doing one on April 10th, that'll take you through February. She'll be doing one on May 10th, that'll take you through March. So when you get to one on May 10th-ish, that'll show you the additional revenue coming in the month of March.
And would that be booked in this A400 line, this licenses, like, so this is where I'm struggling to like follow all of this logic of if we're gonna book that revenue in the actual, in the P and L.
Yeah, so yeah, I think you're exactly right, Melissa. I mean, Melissa, sorry, Winona. Melissa's in Florida. I think you're exactly right that that's where she booked, because she's the one that put these lines in the budget for me. So there's two lines in the budget now, one revenue and one, there's no money in them, but it would go into that line for this year, additional revenue for this year. We didn't have this line in the budget when we did this budget, but now we do. We didn't know when this project was going to stop.
I'll ask you a question. And I don't know this because I'm not a land use or building inspector. If I go out and pull a permit and then all of a sudden, hey, I have to de-scope the job. I can go to land use and say, hey, we decided that we're not going to do this portion of the project right now. We're going to de-scope it. Here's the new change order. We're de-scoping the project. That's going to affect the amount of fees being taken in, correct?
I would think so.
You-
I mean,
yes.
if let's say they came into us and said, we decided to do half the building now and half the building 2 years from now, like, which we originally thought they might do.
They could.
They
You never know.
could, but they're so far into it now. I mean, the foundation's gonna be poured.
I'm more giving you a hypothetical on
Yeah, I
this,
know.
where I'm saying is like, if I went to you and say, hey, 6 months ago, hey, we were gonna do this, it was gonna, the fee was $100,000. However, we're de-scoping it, bad year, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna cut it down to $50,000 worth of stuff. You would say, all right, well, here you go. However, that's gonna affect the fees being taken in.
It would.
It would. It only becomes, I would consider services rendered final is when the CO gets finalized and it goes on the tax rolls. That's when the cake is finally baked and you're ready to eat on it.
I agree with you. I think that the job has to be done, the CO has to be done before we realize exactly if there's any profit in it, exactly what that profit is, when everything's settled and signed off.
I just consider the fees that are collected for a project as kind of on the fluid side until they're finalized and everything is signed off.
I don't disagree. I think that the good news about this, when compared to like a steep ramp, these fees, again, permits come in before work and inspections happen after work. So at least we know one thing has to happen before the next thing happens, and the fees are always in the beginning.
Correct.
All right, just for, go ahead, Carl.
The inspector you're gonna have inspected is estimated to be over, just under 300,000. Does he get paid only when he does the inspections, or is it paid monthly until this is done?
No, doesn't get paid monthly, he gets paid by the job.
By the
So
job?
like when he inspected the foundation plan, we had an invoice for that.
Okay, so,
And when he does the inspection of the blueprints for the building, he'll get paid for doing that plan review. Then he'll be going on the job site and when he goes to the job site, he gets paid for inspecting on the job site.
so as to Dan's thing, if it gets stalled or half, then that money just sits there until he comes back up again.
Right? He can't bill us for something he hasn't inspected. He's not on the clock and just being paid so much a week, so much.
So I'm just gonna try to catch up here. I'm just gonna try to catch up here. Sorry for being late. We're gonna collect $300,000 this year in this budget year.
At least. But I think what we wanted to do though,
No,
We're gonna collect that.
But he's already collected money. That's what I'm.
but we
This
were
budget
getting
year.
quite a bit more between now and July 1st, which is
That-
this fiscal year.
That's what I'm. Well, yeah, but wait a minute. How much are you going to collect this year?
I'm gonna say at a minimum 300, it's probably gonna be closer to 350 maybe,
Okay, so I guess
Can you clarify?
above and beyond the 7.
I'm talking about the budget, the fiscal year that we're in right now. Not next year's budget, this year. To June
25,
30th.
25, 26. You're talking about,
Yes.
20, yeah.
25, 26, that's.
We
the
are going to
budget year.
collect
Another?
in total, how much on
We
this?
collected 70, I expect somewhere on another 350.
So we're going to collect in this budget, this year, this fiscal year, $350 to $400,000.
Mhm.
But we haven't incurred expenses to that extent.
No, $2,800 so far.
Okay.
2,800?
Because we haven't hired,
All
because
right.
we haven't hired a building
Well, I
inspector for
understand.
that. So yes, we're gonna have a large income on this.
Okay, so my point is that that would create, unless I'm missing this, sorry again, it was your light, that will create a surplus on this year's budget, on this year's fiscal, expenses and income. You're gonna have 300,000, 350,000 more than what you anticipated.
I think they would
Correct.
defer.
Understood, but, well, first, I'm not sure if you can defer it because you've taken it in.
No, Melissa said we couldn't defer, just like we do with the transfer station fees.
Yeah,
We get $40 for 2 years. So rather than have 1 year be 60,000, 1 year be 10,000. We defer a part of the first year into the second year. So it's 40, 40, 40, 40.
okay, that's just basic accrual accounting, because you're
Sure.
giving somebody a 2-year deal. You can't take both years into income in 1 year.
This is a really a 3 fiscal year deal.
Right, but I guess what I'm going is that if we don't do it that way, wouldn't this money just roll into the undesignated
It
fund?
would.
So if it rolls into the undesignated fund, isn't that the logical place to charge this out of?
Yeah, and that's why,
Is that, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
catch up here.
yeah, I agree.
Okay.
All I brought up was a concern that if, you know, you hit in the wrong, you know, in 1 year, you make the appropriation and then all of a sudden it explodes and everything and you don't bill it correctly, you can't appropriate it a second time for that line item. I just brought it up. Doesn't mean actually it's going to happen. It's just, I want to make sure that we don't fall into that.
But could we appropriate it in May for this year? After July 1st, the year switches, could we then reappropriate money in the year 26,
You
27?
could.
And
Yeah.
I think, and that's when we know how we're trending, right? Because that's when most of the fees are going to be, mostly what we're paying out is mostly being paid out in the 26, 27 year. So it sounds like most of the money's coming in 25, 26, most of it's going out 26, 27.
I don't mind that, but you're assuming that a vote is going to pass. Or 2 separate votes are going to pass.
I mean, assuming that the appropriation would pass, because it makes so much more sense than even a steep grant that always typically passes.
But if it, say the vote didn't pass in May 18th,
Mhm.
because they want it on the budget, it could still get on the budget.
It could. But we could also let them know we can do that, but when I do that, the budget will be going from a 3.32 up to an 8.31.
Yeah, then you start getting into that weird area because you can, if it goes past July 1st, you're getting into that whole, you're now in the same, you're using the same funding, but is it different? Is it considered a new fiscal year where everything resets rule what?
I'm not saying that wouldn't pass a referendum. I'm saying this thing would go to a question. There'd be 3 questions at the town meeting. Shall we send the government budget to referendum? I guess capital and debt and the education. 5th question, should we appropriate $300,000 from the undesignated fund for this particular thing? So that meeting is not, that 5th question is not going to referendum. It'll be voted for that particular night. So if that for some reason fails because people think should it be on the budget, you could still postpone the referendum for 2 weeks and put it into the
Yeah,
budget.
we'd have to postpone the referendum and have an additional town meeting because then the numbers are changing. So the question one number would
I
change.
understand, but it's still fixable.
It's fixable, but we just have to do it. We'd have to postpone it by a few weeks, which isn't the end of the world.
Yes.
So-
I wouldn't go into the next-
So there is one more thing.
Why are we not asking for special inspections? So special inspections exists in the code, so the building official can have the builder, the property owner, hire an inspector certified, do all the special inspections, submit all the reports to our building official for approval. They pay for them. They give us all the reports. They're on the hook for the quality. Everything meets all the current safety codes. And this makes this whole thing a moot point.
But why,
Because the $500,000 in permit fees remains untouched. The inspections fall on the property owner. The payment for the person doing the inspections falls on the property owner, not on the town. So there is no gazout. It's all gazinta.
so you're asking me to go back to EB and say, everything we've discussed to this point, we're changing costs, we're gonna do it.
No, I'm
differently.
asking a question. Why did we not go down this road? Because it exists for this very reason.
I have to defer to our building inspector and who recommended this is how it would be done. So this is how it should be done. So I just don't know why we would change that now at this stage of the game. And maybe that discussion should have been had a month or two ago, or maybe a year ago. I'm not sure when that discussion was had between land use, the building inspector and EB.
Gary, in that case, it wouldn't surprise me if EB came back and said, I'm not paying those fees.
No. The city of Groton does it daily. EB pays it today. Pfizer pays it today. All the big, it's only because they're in our jurisdiction that lever wasn't pulled.
Well-
This would not be a surprise.
It might not be a surprise, but it's got to figure into how much they want to pay for building permits. And remember, they haven't asked for any waivers of anything. So I get, my other point though, to this is the way I'm hearing
We
this.
don't know any of this. So here we are 2 years down the road and it gets dropped on our lap, how to solve this from a budget and a cash flow perspective so that the taxpayers feel that they are aware of it and it's transparent and it doesn't make the budget vote go kablooey. So explain to me, I'm with you, Lou, I get it. But this shouldn't be ours to unwind in the 11th hour.
Well, maybe so, but the other part that's, as I'm hearing this, again, if they're paying us $400,000 this year before June 30th, right? It's going to be about that. But we haven't incurred any of the expenses on that. Technically, that creates a liability for us. Because under accrual accounting, I know this is fund accounting, but under accrual accounting, that would create a liability that we have to settle when we pay who's ever the inspector. So I don't know how that plays into,
I have no idea what you just said, but that's okay.
well, we've taken in money. We owe the performance of doing the building inspection. And that's going to be our cost that we have to pay for.
Right. I understand that.
So from an accounting standpoint, you look at that as it's not, it might be, in fact, it's what's actually deferred revenue. It's not revenue, it's deferred revenue.
But to get back to Dan's earlier comment, if something were to change and the scope was to dramatically change and this project got de-scoped, that would be a sort of a negotiated exit. We would have to demonstrate time spent reviewing plans that were never built upon, but it's a negotiation.
It's a negotiation.
But we have the money in our pocket.
Yes.
That can be a very easy negotiation.
Any additional comments? So just for the narrative, Bob, if it's 135, it's not 200 for fiscal year 26, 27, 130. So do we have a general consensus to move this back to the Board of Selectmen to create to vote to whether or not to ask for an appropriation? I mean, we don't, it's their call to make to request
Town
it.
meeting.
Yeah, it's their call. At their next meeting, they're gonna vote to ask for an appropriation. Then it comes to us and we vote to send it back to them to call it as part of the town meeting. That's how it works. So that's how we stand right now. Everyone good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
If this is sort of discussion, I still have concerns over the fact that we are going to potentially spend funds we don't have to under the building code. I'm going to review. We're going to go back, Lou.
So can you just give me direction exactly what I'm doing?
Okay.
So, no, can the chairman give me directions on exactly what we're doing?
I mean, if we,
You're asking us, the board of selectmen, could be at my next meeting, or come, as long as it's in a early future meeting, not trying to drag this out, but it could be at my next meeting. You want us to vote as selectmen to ask you for an appropriation for $300,000 to cover the building fees for the EV project.
for the scope of the project.
And then you instructed me to put $130,000 into the revenue line of the 26-27 budget and $1 in the expense line of the 26-27 budget.
That's correct.
Okay. That'll bring my budget back down to where it was before. And the overall town budget, not counting the Board of Ed, down to the 1.98.
That's what the result would be if the town votes yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Gary, do you want to know? Okay. All right.
So I'm sorry. So the 135 does not reflect any additional fees so there was 135 in version 4. And is this
That's
just,
the regular guy. That's the regular guy.
so there's no EB fees, revenue, expense, no EB dollars in this 26-27?
That's correct.
What?
Correct? Is that correct? You do not have the revenue in version 5, do you?
Four,
You
version,
do?
no,
Is there
four.
a special spot?
Yeah, but
Draft 5?
But five we're going to ignore. I want to go back to 4. 4 had nothing in it for EB, correct?
There's nothing in it. So
So I see 135 and
where do you see that?
that's A400 is 135,000. That's just day-to-day North Stonington business, correct?
That's correct.
Rec, building official, and then we had $1, which was gonna be the new line item for EB that we're leaving, correct?
A4.021.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so that's where the EB was, and then,
And then tonight's budget, which is unapproved because we didn't have a board of selectmen meeting to vote for, we put it in just for discussion purposes. I put the 500,000 on that it should be on the A4.021.
yeah, we're scrapping that, right? Yeah.
There's 500,000 there, and then there's also $300,000 in expense line.
B3047, 34047,
34.
30, B34
B34047.
047. Yeah, so the new budget, when you bring it to your board again,
Is gonna be version 4, basically.
well, it should be, it's version 5 with the new ones in there, but
At one.
the A4021 should be 130.
No. The why?
Because that's the revenue above. No, you're right, you're right. Now,
No.
what's the revenue going to be on the new line? 130.
Special project fees.
Because the money that's going to cover the 300 is all outside the budget.
That's right. Because it's not considered taxed revenue.
Correct.
It's income from another source.
Correct.
It's like honestly, think about it as this. You're collecting a bunch of bottles on the side of the road and cashing them in
Mhm.
like you do at the transfer station. That's the revenue.
Yeah.
I said, treat it like a bunch of, you know, it's
Yeah,
treated
'cause
like
we owe- the only thing,
recyclables.
the only thing we want in the budget is the money that we're able to use. And the only money we're able to use is what's above and beyond the 300. So that's why it's be 130. Okay. Okay. And anything else on agenda item number 5? Winona, are you? Yeah. The plan allows us to capture the 130 as revenue and the 300 is a wash. So it's not part of the budget.
Okay, so this is where, okay, all right, well, since we got the time, because we're here. So in
Awesome.
version 4, line item A402 was 110.
A402, that's just the building official. That's the normal building official.
But now in version 5, it's 130. Is that the 130 we're talking about? See, no.
No.
No, that 130 is, so Sarah sent me a list of all the reasons why our revenue she felt was higher than it has been. We haven't captured enough revenue. We've been too conservative. I
Yeah.
think she might have sent it to you guys too. I talked to Cheryl, the land use office, and Cheryl, I think what did I have it on for?
One,
It
110.
was 110 and went up to
And she-
130.
and she
You're right.
said to
So
me-
there was a change.
And she
You're
said,
correct.
and she did say to me that it's an unimproved change, but she said to me I could go to 130 and be less conservative because I think we're gonna get 130 all day long, so.
Okay, so the 130 is correct because that's just, and that has nothing to do with this other
No,
discussion.
Correct.
Okay.
different line, yep.
So now we're gonna reconfirm that for 26, 27, for this building inspector discussion, the EB project, for the special project permit fees, line item A4.021, that's gonna say
130 also.
130 as well.
It's just a coincidence that they're the same number.
130,000.
Yes.
Okay. Versus 500.
And there's one other change, unimproved change, it's on the building inspector. After Mr. Murphy spoke at the last time I talked to our treasurer, and he upped it from, on the short-term revenue, we went from 75,000 to 125,000.
Okay.
And that's on, A 2.00.
Yep, I see that.
Again, these are just figures we put in that has not been approved by the Board of Selectmen yet.
All right. Okay. So Winona, in our spreadsheet, I forgot my thumb drive
Yeah,
at
okay.
work today,
In our spreadsheet, yes.
but Winona has that same one.
Yes, in our spreadsheet.
All right, so the interest line is at 75 right now on your spreadsheet. That will now be 125,000.
We're gonna do, okay.
The section that was for license fees, fines and charges was 345,603. Is that what was on there?
345,602. Yep,
Yep, well, it's 603 on the budget, but 60, whatever it was. You're gonna add 130 to that.
Okay.
Okay. And that's it. That's the only change. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, additional 20,000 on that same line. So it was 150, not 130.
Which line?
What's that?
Which line was it?
We used to have 110 in for the regular building official stuff, and we're collecting 130 instead. So we got 130 extra for the special project and 20 grand extra for the regular building official. Any other changes that to revenue?
8200, the extra 25,000 for short term.
We did that. It's actually an extra 50 grand because it went from 75 to 125.
Got the one in for the sale of vehicles, $30,000 in the last, $30,000 sale of vehicles.
So other revenue changed? So that's 565, 535.
That was in version 4.
That's the original, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that didn't change.
$19,570 with a balance of 1,249.
All right, what, do you have undesignated funds in there right now?
Yes, I'm still sitting at the 340.
340?
So that's where we had ended last meeting, and I just made the changes that we talked about tonight.
I think we're gonna, so we were adding that to cover the fees, were we not?
That was to cover the solar fields.
Oh, the solar fields, right. Okay, so leave that in there. So you're at 19,
19.57.
okay. What was the variance?
1,249.
Love that variance.
We have to fix this. You had added in the EB work into the government operating budget into this last one. We need to back those out.
We added the what?
We had put EB in Bob's budget. We have to pull that out.
Okay,
Winona, are you covering the loss of the solar field in that number? In other words, I think we had talked about pulling 300
Yes,
out of.
I've got 340 in the undesignated fund, but hold because now we've got,
Right, so that's
So
not,
yes, I
that's
have
not
that.
in
I
that
do have that.
19. It's not in that 19 right now.
it is.
It is.
This is including 340,000 being pulled from the undesignated
We're gonna buy
fund.
it down.
Okay.
Okay.
But we have to make, okay, I can, okay.
I wish I had my thumb drive.
I've done enough math today.
All right, so we're obviously waiting for the Board of Ed to do what they're gonna do next week. So we really have nothing to do with that. Any other changes to the Board of Selectmen budget that we're contemplating? I don't think so, right? Bob, do you have the number? So if we have draft, did you do it without, you haven't done it with the 130 in versus, okay.
No, because I probably
So-
would have put it in as 200, so 130 makes sense. I can redo the budget tomorrow, an unapproved version, but I got to get to the Board of Selectmen and I get an approved version for you. We could meet on Monday again before your meeting on Monday if we needed to. Because it's only going to be, it's basically be a two-item thing, an appropriation and a budget update. So I could give that to you Monday.
Yeah, we're not planning to meet on Monday.
Or you're not, okay. Are you planning on a meeting on the 8th? Because the 8th is, according to the budget time.
I think we have to, we have to, because we're
That's when you're supposed to call for the public hearing on the
for the
8th.
public hearing. So you meet on Monday, we'll meet on Wednesday, the 8th. What time is your meeting?
Well, we can meet on Tuesday.
6:30?
If you're not meeting to Wednesday, we'll meet on Tuesday, our normal meeting, normal meeting date. I was only gonna meet Monday if you were meeting Monday. So we have a meeting scheduled for the Tuesday anyway, the 7th. So we can do everything on the 7th at our normal meeting. Instead of calling a special meeting, I give you an updated version of the budget with all the corrections we talked about tonight. And I can get an approval on an appropriation to bring to you on the 8th.
Worst case, we can go meet in Old Town Hall, New Town Hall. If they're gonna be in here.
If you're comfortable on the 8th, it's important that we try to stay on the timeline of calling for a public hearing, so on the 20th. And I need advertising time and I need, it's like between 7 and 14 days, 5 days in the paper. It takes about 2 weeks to get all that done. So the reason we did it on the 8th is so we could do it on the public hearing on the 20th, and that's like cutting it close.
What if we voted to tell you to move the town hearing tonight?
How can you do that without having the public, with Board of Ed number? You haven't got a budget to send to the town, public hearing yet. I mean, if you're happy on the 8th and our budgets are where you want,
The problem is they meet on the 8th. We're not gonna be able to get a budget from them until after that.
I don't think I could go much past the 9th and get all the, Antoinette has all her ducks in a row. So,
Didn't we have a big discussion at one of the tri-boards about like making sure that we had the schedule perfect, so everybody didn't cross
I
over?
know what I think happened. I think it's my fault on the schedule because you used to have every Monday and every Wednesday in March. And they used to scramble for a room to meeting and they couldn't do their meeting online. So we said, why don't you take every Monday and your normal Wednesdays, and they would give them their normal Wednesdays. I think by doing that, it's caused a problem with the scheduling, which was so I'll take the blame on that one. Because last year we canceled about at least 2 Monday meetings last year,
It was great.
huh?
It was great.
This year we haven't canceled any meetings, so we've used them all.
Well, I plan on canceling Monday. Well, or actually not even scheduling it.
But Monday's not March either, it's April. You kept all your meetings on in March. Is your meeting, if you had a meeting on Monday, would it be, if you had a very limited agenda with only the budget on it and didn't have all your other stuff like real library review, and all the other stuff you put on it, like I put on mine, could you just do a quick meeting, like a half-hour meeting, just do the budgets and done?
On when?
You're,
No. Oh,
you're
yeah.
a funny man.
On Wednesday, you mean?
I was saying Wednesday too, but you
It'd have
have,
to be Wednesday because we're not gonna get their budget
that's
until
true, you won't
after.
have. Judy, you're not meeting until Wednesday, the 8th, is that, you have no special meeting between now and,
How long do you think that meeting's gonna take?
You guys have a vice chair.
could you do it? Could you do it? Could you do it the way that we just did it, Judy, and meet at 5:30 prior to their meeting and then be done and then go right into their meeting from your meeting? Because we did that last Monday and it worked, right? We were at 5:30 and came to you at 7. If that worked, then maybe you could.
I'm fine with that. I'm already planning to call that meeting on on the 8th. And if we have to do it at 8 o'clock, we'll do it at 8 o'clock. It's not going to be that long of a meeting.
If they started at 5:30, if they started at 5:30, you could probably, it could be ready for you at 7, I'll bet.
Yeah,
Then once the public hearing's called, where everything's back on track.
yeah. I mean, to keep it on track, we have to meet on the 8th, guys. That's as simple as that. It's a special meeting because it's not on our regular calendar. Wednesday.
It's a week from today.
Yeah. There'll be a special meeting. So we're gonna have. Yeah, it's basically.
So you could limit your agenda.
I'm going to limit the agenda to Board of Education, Board of Selectmen budgets.
Special meeting, we can't add anything.
I know, and we won't.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, what happens if something doesn't
It's
come
going to
up?
be basically review what they've given us.
Yep.
Review what you have and vote to send it back to you to call a town meeting,
No, town hearing.
town hearing.
You guys call it.
We
I'll
call
it, but
that.
You guys call it.
Yeah, we're going to vote to go to a town hearing.
Yeah.
And that's the one that you guys run.
Correct.
So probably not the best time, but I do feel compelled to touch upon this. You know, we did and it was a shame on us for not doing it the right way, but we did offline guidance for the Board of Ed. And they came back and they didn't hit the guidance. And now we asked them for a budget that's still above the guidance we gave them. If this doesn't hit the number we asked for, I suggest we don't meet. Because why are we providing guidance if they give us the number they choose to provide? Just something to consider.
It's true. We gave them a number. We gave them a formal number. We gave them a formal number. 2.5. 2.5. And with a focus. Like, hey, I shine a light on this.
How are we doing over there?
I got people I talk to. Coming up my iPad. So- I don't want to speak of it at 2.5. I might put it where it would be, but I think the preference.
Was that?
Know where we are?
We can't change ours. We have a couple others. We're not able to change our.
What time would you be done?
Let's just lock the number.
We can't. No, I just talked to Christine. It has to be on Wednesday.
All right, well, we'll plan our meeting for 8 o'clock. Maybe we can actually eat dinner that night.
What's dinner? It's usually grab and go. I think for, like Gary was saying, I think for us going forward, we gave formal guidance. I think that's the guidance that we should be running with when crunching numbers tonight would be a 2.5. If it doesn't happen, well, we have another issue.
So can I ask a quick question, since it's my first budget season and my first time with us working with the Board of Ed? Our goal isn't to cut education when we talk about this stuff, is to protect it by finding money that isn't really helping the students. So when we say 2.5% at that last meeting, I mean, isn't that the number that we need them to meet?
I'll correct, I'll understand. I'll correct you just a little bit.
Yep.
We're not cutting. We're just not giving the increase that they're asking for. That's a very,
You're right.
that's
I
a
should have
very,
worded that
I
differently.
would say that's a touchy subject because cutting would be going below zero. We're not going below zero. We're just not giving the increase that is being asked
Right.
for.
We're asking for a 2.5%.
You're right. We're going from a 2.74 down to 2.5, which I think is like 32,000.
Right.
Is it 30? Yeah, what she said.
Right.
That's what we're
Well, I
asking
appreciate
for.
the correction. I should have definitely worded that.
So that's a very important thing. We're not kind of, we're just not giving the increase that is being asked for.
So then 1962. Using 340,000 from the undesignated fund to cover not having the solar fields being taxed. Using the grand list of 935, 919. The 935, 919 grand list.
Right.
So what was it, 19 what?
62.
62?
I've got a little bit different number, but we're ballpark.
Yeah, there was some reductions in here that one of you was probably just not missing.
This is not,
What's the number if you didn't put the undesignated fund in there?
Oh, meaning
You
if,
take that out, you take the solar field, I would call that a front load. You take that money out and you,
0.20. That's what I've got, 0.20, because I'm doing it just a little bit different than she is. I'm showing that if we were able to collect on that, we'd have 326,000.
okay,
So
so,
it's not my calculation at all. I'm at 0.20.
but what I'm saying is if we didn't take the money out of the undesignated fund and we just left it as is, it's not collected, we just don't, what's that raw number?
0.20.
So we don't do a buy down.
We don't do a buy down, it's
Right.
what, 20,
we just have to pay for it.
we just have to pay for it. We, you know, the worst,
It's right at, it's 0.2.
0.2
So
on top of that.
0.20, and then once we get the number, then we
Yeah.
decide if we want to do
Yeah,
something.
yeah, and again, I know I've talked about this a couple of times, but I think
I like it better that way.
Yes, later.
I know you do. Come on.
What do you guys mean by that though?
Yeah.
Why do you want the raw number? in there?
I want the raw number without the undesignated fund, worst case scenario number.
Most
That's-
conservative.
Yeah, the most conservative number. I said
So
it
it's-
last meeting.
So 19.62, if we were to take 340 out of the undesignated fund to
Uh-huh.
cover the solar fields,
Loss, yes.
correct?
Loss.
If we were not and we were to absorb it, it's
0.20.
0.201 something.
Like,
So-
that tracks.
And this is, to me, this is a very important point. Given those numbers from the general tax collections that we're basing the mill rate on,
We'll beat that.
using these numbers that are preliminary, we are collecting $221,000 less in taxes this, in budget than we did this year. We're actually taking less money off the taxpayers in this
Understood.
upcoming budget.
I get that, but there are taxpayers that are the fabric of the community, that are on a fixed income, whose pensions and social security do not escalate, that are going to see an increase. And that's what I'm focused
But
on.
that's based on the assessment of their houses, and there's nothing we can do about that.
I get that, Lou. But you can delegate your authority, but not your responsibility. It's our responsibility to make sure this is done equitably.
I disagree with that because that's not a valid connection. Because
Excellent.
our charge is to collect enough money. How that gets divvied up among the taxpayers is not our issue. That's the tax assessment. It's not, we're collecting less money. So those that are paying more this upcoming year, it's due to the value of their home. It's not because we're taxing them more. And we've divided it up differently.
Whatever lets you sleep, Lou. I'm okay with it. We all make our own
I can
peace.
sleep very well with that because that's the way it is.
Okay.
But I mean, I also think that it's our responsibility to put forth a budget that taxpayers are going to approve.
Yeah,
And I mean, even at this 19.62, whether or not, we still don't know if this 62% median assessment, I don't know what it is, but if the 62% median assessment is the right number based upon what the assessor told us, which right now we have no other numbers to go upon, and using the 180 to 292 number, that's still a 10% tax increase for that person in our example. A 10% tax increase is a large tax increase. I had looked at some federal data And I mean, if you look at the last 5 years of average wage increase, it's 5.2%. My company's wage increase this year was 2.7%. The average social security increase over the last 5 years is 4.5%. So I mean, there's a population that 10% is double what they're getting in their paychecks, no matter where that paycheck is coming from. So it's our responsibility to make sure that what we're putting forward is something that can be approved and something that's palatable. So this is where the sustainability piece comes from. This is where, I know we don't set the assessments, but we need to make sure that people continue to stay in our town so that we have a tax base to collect from. Empty houses don't pay taxes.
Yeah, they do. But the.
They only do for a certain
No.
period of time until
No,
the
they
bank
always
goes
do.
them.
Eventually, we get it. That's one of the beauties of the way the tax system works.
It takes a
don't-
while.
Yeah, well, we earn interest on it, 18%, but that's okay. Yeah. But I mean, I'm just not clear on what we're supposed to do with that, because if we're collecting less money this year than what we did last year,
I think it's all, well, if nothing else changes, guys, at this point, if we do use the 340. So you're saying at the 20.01, we're collecting less taxes?
right, yes, 200,000, we are collecting at 2.0, just right across, we're collecting $220,000 less in taxes for the upcoming budget than this year.
So does that include, and sorry, I'm not looking at your spreadsheet. I don't know, I don't want to peek in your cells.
You may.
Does that include the loss of the personal property from the solar field at 340?
That is not even counting that. That I've got that as a separate line that says if we could collect that money, then we would collect an additional $326,000. And that would just make it 326,000 less. So we'd be, if that does come
So we're
in,
at 220 under,
yeah,
and that includes the 340 that
No.
we're not receiving.
no. I mean, that takes into account not getting that money. If we do collect that money, then we would be collecting $575,000 less in the upcoming year than what we are now.
What happened, Gary, is, so between last year and this year, you just take the reval out of it.
Yep.
We went up tremendously in other revenue, whereas our expenses did not go up as much. So, everything below that person, the real estate, the grand list property, everything else was a significant increase in revenue compared to what these guys have done with expenses. That's how you end up where he is with the 220.
To be specific, in additional taxes, we're collecting 7.45%. Interest income, we're projecting a 25% increase. Intergovernmental, at the flat rate, not counting if the state bumps it up, that's a 4.64% increase. Licenses and fees, that goes up almost 45%. And other revenue goes up 6.98%.
So I understand your list of good guys, but the foundational, the keystone to it is the change in personal property taxes levied.
But that's involved in this. That's already calculated.
I'm bolding that.
So as
Thank you.
So as the town increases more revenue, the taxpayers' burden should be less,
It is.
right?
It
Because
is.
you're saying we're not
That's, it is. That's what this shows.
right. So why is that a bad thing?
It's not. It's a great thing.
Oh,
The
you
problem is
were
happening-
presenting it as we're taking less money on our taxes on our
And
houses.
I'm saying that that's a good thing. And
No,
that's how
he's
you
saying
sell.
overall general revenue that we're
We're up.
taking from the town is, in all other sources,
Is less.
is less.
So when somebody says, but the median tax bill is going up by 10 or 20%, that's what I was getting at. That has nothing to do with these calculations, but has to do with the value of your home versus
It's a
everybody else in town.
redistribution of responsibility.
That's exactly it.
Oh, you love hearing that word.
So
Well, all right, we can, and I think that that's a huge part of the town hearing story, Lou, and I love that. And you're gonna be front and center on that.
I suggest you wear
We're gonna have to
clothes.
then
I
tell the
suggest
story of
wears
what,
disposable clothing that night because tomatoes will be thrown.
I'll bring my gloves.
I mean, so looking at, remember the chart that you had that showed real estate, personal property, motor vehicle?
Yeah.
It had like last year versus this year.
Yeah,
The personal property tax is down 19 million, 17%.
I know. Yeah, I don't know if that number is, that actually,
That's
So-
using the new numbers that you sent in the
Yes.
It's because the
spreadsheet
law
Yes.
changed.
from Daryl.
correct. We actually had,
That's.
so
because
that
this-
other thing that I sent out to you guys was what OPM, what Daryl sent to OPM, which was $10 million more than what we had gotten from Jen previously. So that 935 is correct, but the original number of whatever it was, where we were last year for the net grand list was actually about $10 million less than what yes, exactly.
This year's is gonna be made up like last
No.
year.
The comparison, we're comparing this year to what was there last year, and the comparison is not correct yet because Daryl had a different number that Jen didn't know about, and it's not her fault. I don't know how that happened, but Daryl, maybe once all the revals, and I mean, the assessment appeals and stuff went through, he revised the number, but we budgeted at 946 or 646 last year, not 635. And that's why we can never make the numbers match at first, but we were pulling our hair out, Winona and I. But it's not 946, it's 646, it's 645. And most of that increase was actually in personal property and motor vehicles. Unfortunately, it wasn't in real estate because that would have made the difference between last year and this year, not 62%, would have made it less. And remember, I was talking about that would totally change our perspective on, how much more you're paying this year compared to last year. That number would go down.
Well, that motor vehicle one is also going to keep on going down because of the 10-year thing.
Yeah.
It's going to get phased out at some point. So as cars get depreciated throughout the years, we're going to collect less and less and less on that line.
All right, yeah.
Unless you're like Gary and I, where we're just driving the same things.
So this is my plug for P and Z and EDC, which I'm on and we don't meet, but for P and Z and EDC to get more businesses in town so that we can get more commercial.
Agreed,
Revenue.
because that's when we'd find, if you have that, that's when you expect, the taxpayers should expect, I'm paying less taxes. So one other thing I want to just, before we really move on, I printed the undesignated fund out for, because obviously if we're going to use 340, we want to make sure that, what do we have here? We have 505, 606, 17 above the 17% level as we speak. $505,606.17. Yeah, you're right. You're probably right.
That's what I got.
What is it? 5056 what?
605.4.
Yeah.
The delta to get down to policy from where we are, it's 505, 605, 54.
That leaves, if we minus out the so 7,
Can someone help me
Before-
find the notes, these notes 1, 2, and 3? Or are these notes still I only see note,
There's less notes than there usually is.
I attached that because they're at the very bottom of the, and I actually, I wanted to do the full one because those notes always reference back to that.
do they still matter?
Yes.
Where are they though? What are they attached to?
So if you're looking at the one I handed out today, is that the
Yeah.
one you're looking at?
Yeah. What's note 1, 2?
Note one is, if you look back, originally that steep grant for, that's dated 10/6/2023.
Oh, that's all the way up at the top.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
so
why I printed out this big one because
Okay.
Melissa's actually made one that's more truncated
Oh,
but I wanted this one because, we have 426,000 that's taken out. Some of it's already been de-obligated and came back in, but the note references the fact that there is a steep grant that was out of that 426, 226,153 is still obligated for things like the roof up here and HVAC over there. And if that is spent, 182,922 will be returned out of that grant.
Speaking of that, Bob, where are we at with that roof? That's been, yeah.
Can you speak into the mic?
So we de-obligated the irrigation, as you know, which is
Yep.
why it's down to what number is now. We were gonna put the RFP out 2 weeks ago before we went to war. And now all the oil prices went up. We know asphalt is dictated on their oil prices, so we figured we'd wait a couple weeks and see what's gonna happen with Iran before we put the RFP out. Because I know what I just paid for heating oil, I know that's what's gonna happen to asphalt, so. They should have been out about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but because of what's happening in the world, we had to hold it back.
How far are we off with those quotes? Are we a big number, little
Well, so
number?
the quote we had when oil was high the last time we put it out about 2 years ago, the quote was supposed to be around 203, which is what we were told it should be. Then we had one bid that came in at 254. So we were been 50,000 over, which is still a bargain. We could have the roof done. Still a bargain, but if we can do it, if we get somewhere closer to 200, it would make more sense.
Yeah, it would. It's just, they've been waiting around for a while for that roof.
There's another on your designated fund, the 58,000 for the Assaconk Swamp Trail. That's just about done. We'll be asking for that money shortly. And we didn't spend, and we're going to deobligate a lot of that because we only spent about half of what we needed to spend. We did a lot of it as in-kind work with the town garage. So, but you'll be able to put that back in.
All right. The point being that the funds that are obligated out of our undesignated fund with the potential to come back. We're not really considering that right now. We're considering what we actually have.
And you're considering the 300,000 I'm going to ask for on Wednesday of next week for the building inspector.
So like, this is, and I don't know, as soon as I say it, Gary's going to shake his head going like this, as soon as I say it. When we have these type of projects and everything that, we come under bid, it's great. However, it gets into this whole scoping and planning job that Gary and I and Carl, and we just automatically think in our heads, it's like, it's always good to come under, but when you're constantly coming way under on some of these things, it's like, all right, well, what's the original number and how did we not think of that original number and price the job out correctly the first time?
So I get it. And on steep grants, we got bids from people who would be bidding on the job.
Yep.
I think the bid we had for the roof was Porkaduck Roofing. And then they came back and they were actually higher, but the market had changed in oil, which drove up the price of asphalt. So by the time we did the steep grant, got the approval and they bid it was more money. And then the oil came down, we were going to put it back out. And now I was afraid to put it out 2 weeks ago because of what just happened. So,
Yeah,
but I agree with you. I think this, and I think that's one of the reasons why my philosophy's changed on steep grants is not coming to you and asking you for something that's not going to happen in 2 or 3 years. Because what's the price going to be in 2 or 3 years? And if it's not the right price, we just don't do it. We don't have to take the money. We can just put it right back like we did the irrigation. Just put it back in the anticipated fund and say we don't need it.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Well, to answer your question, Bob, as it stands, if we determine that we're going to use 340 for this budget to replace the solar farms, that leaves us with 165,605 basically. And if we're gonna take out 300, we're gonna go below our 17% by 134,393.
But your 17% is also your cap, right? That's your high
Correct.
point. So
I'm just discussing it.
No, I understand. It doesn't mean you couldn't live at 15 or 16 or 14.
Correct.
But, and the good news is though, is I think that, and I'll have to defer to the Board of Finance when you want it back, but once we get the 300,000, if we get it in May or June and we defer it, but if once we've realized the money that you've designated for this out of the undesignated fund, then we could probably put it, deobligate and put it right back in.
Correct. So I'm just talking hypothetically, everyone. So hypothetically, we'd have a 300 coming out, but 300 going back in a pretty short order. So that 165, when we're still be above the 17%, is there any appetite to do anything else in the present budget for that? For anything capital, one-time expense? You could use it,
So the first thing we have to ask is, how long have we known about the overage? Because we have a year to act. So, and we talk about this frequently. When was the line snapped? When did we know we're over, et cetera, et cetera? And the other is, until we have a budget, I don't think we should be discussing spending anything down. Let's see what the budget looks like, because we still got a couple outliers that got to come to us. And
I'm saying, that's why I'm asking, is there an appetite, if there is, to your point, Gary, before, if we're looking to, in this reval year, really do something, and we have this overage, is there any appetite to pay anything else down? For instance,
For me personally, I'm going to be on the conservative number. I don't want to count any undesignated fund money to any of the balances. I want to show the raw number. This is the number. Yes, we don't have the solar fields. Yes, totally get it. Hartford's working on it. They're trying to do their thing, everything. Just go with a very conservative number and then play back to, hey, we have this amount going over. We can do this, this, and this, and this. You know, we can pay down the debt. It's just, I want everybody to understand what that raw number is and then work into it.
every time I did my presentations for the last, I think, 3 years, you talk about, what happened with the grand list. What happened with everything else. It was a lot easier to talk about at that time because basically Daryl gave us all that information. We don't really have that, but we know what happened with the grand list. We know from Lou's numbers that what the other revenue did to talk about. And certainly for the town hearing, going into the town meeting, we'll be talking about EB's big project and how that's, what the vote's going to be coming up for in the town meeting. That's going to be part of the presentation. And then you give them, the raw numbers, as you say. I said, but then I always said, all right, the Board of Finance is planning to do this. If by the time this goes to the town meeting, we don't have an answer from Hartford on the solar fields. I would actually, this is what we could do with the overage to make up that difference pending what we think is going to happen with the solar fields.
So-
And I always, with all that, it says this is, and if we didn't do anything, here's what the note, here's what the mill rate looks like using our spreadsheet. And then you talk about what we would want to do to try to mitigate those issues, and you provide.
I get your point. However, going in, since this is our meeting, I think you throw out a bunch of different options and these are different scenarios that you could have. We don't have to snap a line in the sand until we hit the town meeting.
Correct.
And that's when we would say, hey, this is our plan. This is how we're going to tackle, and this is what we want to go and send to referendum. But going into the hearing, it's just a bunch of, this is the raw number, and these are all the different options that we could have and everything. Yes, we're still waiting for some outliers. They could come in a couple of weeks. Things could change. It's just, I don't want to commit to something, then have to back it out and then people get confused.
I understand. I don't either. I'm certainly, my presentation is not going to be just done by me. It's going to be vetted by several people and I'll send it out before we even have it. What I do want to do is set this thing up for success and not for failure.
Because I can tell you this right now, I still hear from people, they're saying the library is coming out of the undesignated fund and that's, I don't understand why it's going to be in the budget. That wasn't even out there.
I know.
So to answer your question, my personal opinion, I have no appetite to
Okay.
discuss anything out of the undesignated fund. Let's get the budget and then
Yeah.
we'll figure it out after that. But there are a lot of people here.
Light up your mind.
I think you could say that, hey, we have a healthy undesignated fund, we have an overage at this time. That's the number. Things could happen.
As long as
It seems to me, though, that if once we're done, we get to the point where we say, all right, this is what we're going to present for a budget. And if the undesignated fund, as a result of that, is still $500,000 over our policy, I think a legitimate question from the taxpayers will be, why aren't you lowering our taxes by that amount of money to get it back to policy? Which
Because
is what is our purview. We can do
Because the
that.
policy says from a year of recognizing the overage. So we were at zero in October when
Mhm.
we bought down some debt,
Right. We have up to a year.
up to a year.
But so
So there's your answer, Lou.
But we're
We
in
have
the
up
year.
to, we have up to a year to act.
But we're within the year.
We have up to a year to act.
Oh, and we would be acting within the year. So I guess I'm more, if we're gonna sit there and have above our own policy, $500,000, I would be leaning towards lowering the mill rate and giving that back to the taxpayers. That's my take.
Only if it can be done in a manner that's sustainable. If it's a one-time Band-Aid that gets us through to next year, so we cover a gap from a loss of revenue for whatever, and it's still going to come back next year, I'm not supportive. That's why I won't limit to it
We're
right
not
now.
having a loss of, we're having an
No, no, no,
increase
no,
in
no, no,
revenue.
you're,
No,
sorry,
no.
I'm answering Mike's question.
Yeah, the 340, we don't have an answer for. So to your point, we can't guarantee that. So if we did that as a Band-Aid, it's a
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid for that automatically we're in a 340 hole next year. So that's a well taken point. The
numbers I said,
what's that?
the numbers I said, that revenue's not in my numbers. So if that comes back, that's a plus.
Great.
So I've already taken, that's in that, and we get, so with that, just so we get a sense of all this, if we do say, all right, we're going to let the undesignated fund go down to 17% and we use that 505 number, then our tax collections would be under $18 million. It'd be almost $750,000 less in tax collections upcoming year than what it was last year.
I can tell you this right now. I have absolutely no appetite to start plugging revenue gaps and everything. I would go in there and say, what do we have left for capital this year, guys? Because over the last 2 years, for this year coming up and for the next year going forward, we cut down almost, close to $700,000 worth, 640 of capital. I would just say, whatever the capital is in for this year, pay it. That's paying debt. You make a payment on the debt. We have to do it anyways. We're just taking which we already taken pre-tax money out.
But wait a minute, we're paying the 437, that's already in the budget, right?
Yeah, so you
You're
just
talking
make
about
the
an additional.
yeah, just making the payment instead of taxing on that number, you're taking it out of the undesignated fund and making that payment.
What's the difference?
It's already taxed. It's already taxed money.
I know.
You're not
I think-
increasing taxes
Okay.
for that.
And guys, just so you know, I am not in any way, shape or form in favor of taking something that isn't a capital expense or, but there are plenty of them. There's plenty in capital. There's plenty in debt and there's gonna be a new debt for 158 that people are gonna be asking us, and then we gotta anticipate all these questions, like, why aren't you using this to pay this down? I got this budget item here, why aren't you using it for that? Why aren't you using it for that? And you say, let's use it for capital. It's 6 and 1/2 dozen the other with these non-recurrent, with these.
We
with
were
these
at the same point.
These debt.
We were at the same point last year.
No, no,
And we agreed to work all summer to come up with a solution. And damn it, we got all the way to October before we made a decision.
No, we
What?
waited a little longer than that.
But anyway, I'm just saying, let's.
I don't understand why we think, like, I know you and I were just talking about why making the payment out of the undesignated fund for capital won't reduce.
it will.
It will. That's math. I'm not taxing off of this. I'm taking already taxed money and I'm making a payment on that side.
Okay, because you're just taking the money out of the undesignated fund without putting it in the spreadsheet. I'm putting the undesignated fund money in the spreadsheet and then paying for the debt that way. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
As far as the actual, and this might be a really silly question, but it's silly season, so, the money that's actually sitting in the undesignated fund, does it earn interest?
Yeah.
Is that like,
Part of the money that's being invested,
so,
well as.
like, does that show up in these dollars anywhere?
Mm,
That shows up in the 110.
That's short term.
So,
That shows up in the 100 and,
so it doesn't get credited to this undesignated fund account?
no.
no, because it's used as revenue for
Goes
the
to
town,
Revenue for the town.
for the
P&L.
budget.
We peel that money off and we use as revenue as a A2 line.
Yeah,
Okay, so it goes into the A2 line, it doesn't.
Correct.
Correct.
It
It's a
doesn't
short-term
get seeded
investment.
back to this
No.
right.
That's the 125,000
Bob gets.
for next year.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so. These guys are gonna meet on Monday, Tuesday, on the regular meeting. They're gonna give us their approved draft 6. We'll get our draft 3 budget from the Board of Ed on Wednesday. We will meet after that at 8 o'clock.
When do we meet? When,
We're gonna
whoa,
meet at 8 o'clock on next Wednesday, after the Board of Ed meets,
which is when?
the 8th, week from today.
And then, okay. Board of Finance meets
It
when?
was on the budget calendar, it wasn't on our town, it wasn't on our meetings, regular meetings.
So Board of Ed is meeting Wednesday.
All right, anything else on?
What
the-
time are we
So
We're meeting at 8 PM? April Fool's Day, are we for real? We're
Vote.
meeting April 8th at 8 PM?
yes. Yeah, we have to, in order to call for our town hearing, we have to vote to move this to a town hearing. And that's as soon as we're gonna have the, both budgets. And in between that time, if nothing changes, we will have a presentation with raw data, and we were gonna meet on the 15th, because it's the town hearings on the 20th. We will have what we want to present to the town finalized by the 15th or shortly thereafter, if there's further changes that need to happen.
But we're not going to meet it unless we get a 2.5, right? Is that what we decided? Thank you.
I'm assuming,
With the.
I have supreme confidence.
So Lou and I just had a little quick thing.
Sidebar?
A little quick sidebar. Well, no, basically it's based on the short term. Bob, can you ask the treasurer, or somebody can ask the treasurer? No, not him. because he doesn't, well, he might have it. No authority. But we haven't received, and maybe I'm missing it. Sean used to produce a document saying, hey, these are all the CDs we have. These are all, this is where we're matured in these CD investments.
It's funny you should say that because I had that discussion today with the treasurer and says, I need one of those sheets. I haven't seen one in a long time. So he said he'll get one to me shortly. So yes, and after
Haven't seen
the,
one since November.
I know, but don't forget, he had to get up to speed. But we should have one shortly because I asked him today for one. So
Totally get that. However, my question is, does Sean or the treasurer have supreme authority to be able to go in there and just purchase the CDs as will?
he probably do it the way that Sean did it.
I don't know how Sean did it.
Well, the way
Sean,
Sean did
how'd you
it, he would come up with it, come to my own and say, this is what I want to do. What do you think? And he'd look at, what time of year was it, what was going out. Because in June, we know there's a lot of expenditures in June, but we also know there's a lot of money coming in July and January. So he would figure out when we needed to keep the money in the bank and when we could take it out. I talked to Paul about that today. He's under the same guy, he had the same idea from Sean, because Sean taught him. But Sean would come to my office and say, this is what I want to do, and we get this percentage rate, we have it in for 30 days or 60 days, and
He runs it by you. He doesn't work in a silo. He
No, it's-
he runs. it
sometimes, sometimes Sean would because he was so good at it. In the beginning, he didn't, but sometimes just, hey, I just took a CD for, $1 million for 30 days. Okay, what are we gonna make out of it? We're gonna make 25,000, great.
So the new treasurer has not bought any CDs or did any new.
No, I didn't
investment?
say that. I haven't got a report from him, but I think he worked on some with Sean before in the transition period.
So the mentor and the mentee have been working together to do.
Right,
something.
we have 2 CDs out
No,
right
no, he's
now.
shaking his head.
We have 2 CDs out right now, I know that. That are presently making us money as we speak.
Okay.
An SOP was provided.
How you were doing it? Sit with Bob, do this, go through that, checks and balances type stuff.
All right, we makes,
Yeah, we need that report.
yep, we need the report. Anything else on agenda item number 7? Hearing none, moving on to 8, tabled. Review of minutes. We have minutes of March 9th, 2026.
So the March 9th and the March 11th that I sent everybody were the revised minutes with the recommendations from the board. And then you'll also see March 18th minutes that I've made, I use a different format and they're much shorter. Mhm. I took Lou's recommendation.
I'm fine with the shorter minutes. I'm not going to make a stink over it, but I liked the detailed minutes. I thought they added value. I thought there was a lot of great feedback from the general populace that it captured what actually transpired. So I'm not going to oppose approving them, but I like the longer ones better, the detailed
Oh,
ones.
the longer ones are, they do provide detail. It's just, we don't want to get into that trap of numbers, misrepresentation or whatnot. So
We'll
just,
have to look at it more carefully, that's all.
I appreciate you saying that, Gary. Before I got on the board, a lot of people, their main complaint was that watching 3-hour-long meetings is just a lot to get information. So, but that's not the reason to have minutes. It's not their purpose. So I took Dan's format and I really do feel that it serves its purpose.
it's
And,
it's a roadmap because honestly, before you had to listen to a recording anyways,
Mhm.
because they were tape recorded. So it's either you watch it with a pretty picture or you still have to listen to it.
Right.
If it was
So-
taped or on
Sorry.
YouTube.
Sorry, Dan.
Go ahead.
The March 9th meeting, I was not in attendance.
I wasn't here for the 4th. So that's good.
All right, we'll just, absent, we'll add Winona to that. I move to approve the March 9th, 2026 meetings as amended.
Second.
So that's Mike, Gary. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0.
I know on March 11th, you weren't there?
9th.
9th, okay.
All right, March 11th.
March 11th.
Let's take a look at them.
Make a motion to approve March 11th, 2026 meeting minutes as written.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Those are approved minutes. Minutes for March 18th.
Make a motion to approve meeting minutes on 3/18/2026 as written.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Oh, wait, hold. No, wait. What's number 9 here? Next meeting, December 23rd, 2024.
Oh, son of a.
As amended.
That's amended.
Hold on.
I'll resend that tomorrow.
2028, if it said that, that'd be fine.
This was the first time I copied it.
All right.
As amended.
As amended.
Thanks.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's a 6-0. All right, the only other adjustment, next meeting, the next regular meeting is April 15th, and there will be a special meeting posted on Monday for April 8th at 8 PM. We'll still do that hybrid. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
forgot.
Sean,
Dang it. Public comment.
you better hurry up.
Where's Brian?
Jesus. Did anybody text to make sure? you
All right, Sean Murphy, 23 Kingswood, just 3 quick topics. You mentioned the solar. I'm glad you're putting the 340 in there just in case. I'm not as confident as yourself as that'll be.
You're not supremely confident?
I know. It seems like it's the logical thing to do, is to reverse that and fix that, but this is Hartford. And the people in Hartford worry about Hartford, Bridgeport. They don't worry about what it's the people, and there's no solar fields in those cities, or not as many solar fields there. So they're looking out for the big cities. And so I'm not as confident, but I'm glad it's in the budget, just in case it doesn't materialize. I think if I heard Winona right, the increase in taxes, the amount of taxes to support the budget is going up 7 point something or other percent.
So again, if we're using the median, sorry, Lou. The median increase and the median house value, it's a little over 10 at that 19 mill rate.
It's actually missing. So I think it's actually the average increase for the assessments was 62%. The median household assessment is the
Okay, so if
292.
you're using the 62 at the median household, it's a little over a 10% tax increase.
And compared to a less than 3% CPI increase as far as people's social security and.
Just to be clear, you can't do it that way.
Okay.
It just can't be done. You're taking a bad look. Keep doing it that way and you'll just confuse people.
Okay. So there's a possibility that we're using this 340 thousand to balance the budget. And just to realize, in order to, the following year, in order to start out to be a zero budget increase, you have to use $340,000.
This is why I said I will not use this to balance a budget. This would be only because I'm supremely confident.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is an early one.